Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. And guess what? It's Thursday, September 26, 2024. When we come back, a lot to discuss about yesterday's excitement in the House of Commons. Lots to talk about when we come back.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please like the station if you can right now, because that beats YouTube suppression, which I'm still being subject to. A lot of us small c conservative broadcasters are, especially if you talk about policy. It's okay if you just go after people personally. They don't mind that. We try to give you policy information and news on this broadcast. That's what I aim to do every day. Thank you so much for contributing. Thank you so much for participating and subscribing. Resubscribe if you must. I haven't seen a lot of unsubscribes lately, but you never know. Check to make sure you are subscribed. We're 15 away from 30,000. Let's do it right now. Let's do it in this hour. Let's hit 30,000 and keep moving on upwards. You're never sure where you're going to be with subscribers, but I'm very happy to be at this point now. It's been a long haul, been a tough battle. We're going to keep fighting because I think it's necessary to get the news out that you need to know and to continue to resolve to resist. So we had the non-confidence vote in the House yesterday. I'm also going to be talking about the bubble zone. Talked about it on the weekend. Very few people seem to care. It's there. Yesterday, I can confirm the bubble zone is there. There has been no official announcement, but the parliamentary security will tell you, yes, there's a bubble zone. Had that confirmed yesterday. Not even been reported by any other YouTube station that I've noticed. Certainly not by the mainstream media. And the government has not even acknowledged it. They just hope you notice it and say nothing. And it's not just aimed at protesters. Any member of the public now is not getting near the door of the House of Commons. There's a bubble zone. And I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk about Trudeau playing the gay card yesterday? This is a bizarre segment. We're going to watch the whole thing because you won't believe it. If you haven't seen it, you won't believe it. If you have seen it, you have to see it again because this is how unhinged the prime minister has become. And now he's taking offense because somebody mentions a bath, Tom Clark, and Trudeau in the same sentence, and he immediately takes radical offense to it. The guy is really not doing well. But I want to show you what I think was the best, clip of the day. This is my story in the Post Millennial. We had this up within a half an hour of the vote taking place. Of course, we knew what was going to happen. Of course, we knew Jagmeet Singh was going to cave to the Liberals. He loves Justin Trudeau. He loves Justin Trudeau's policies. And he is not in any way sincere about tearing up any agreement. He will use the agreement for as long as it benefits him. He took a look at the polls. This guy at least has eyes to see. I don't know if he has a brain to understand, but he looked at the polls and said, hey, I'm not doing very well. I'm not going to win very many seats. I'm lucky I got that seat in Winnipeg. It was a tight race with the Conservatives. Maybe I should just shut up for a while and keep this government in power, and maybe we'll escalate a bit in the polls until the October election. Now, you never know with Jagmeet Singh because he changes from day to day. He has no long-term political strategy. The only political strategy he has is to stay as the leader of the NDP as long as possible and to retain his seat in the House of Commons as long as possible. That's it. That's the strategy. There is no other strategy. And he will say and do anything, including, today I'm against the carbon tax, but not tomorrow. Today, I've ripped up the agreement with the Liberals, but not tomorrow. The Bloc, I won't say it. I will say it again. The Bloc is a traitorous party, has no business being in the House of Commons and no business telling Canadians how to govern themselves because they are not concerned about Canada. But the Bloc, of course, is blackmailing the government now. They want, what, $2 billion more in old age pension. Not going to happen before October 29th. So who knows? The Bloc might decide, yeah, we won an election. And who knows? Jugmeat, if we get him on a Tuesday, not a Wednesday, he might decide he wants to vote against Trudeau too. So we'll see what happens. I'm still optimistic we could have a November election because things are so changeable right now in Canadian politics. And Trudeau, he could be gone any day, just like Joe Biden was gone as the Democratic presidential candidate. If you watched me on Redacted yesterday, I talked about this with Krayden at length about how Trudeau is in the same position as Joe Biden. He will probably pull the plug before the next election. Anyway, I want to show you what I think is the best segment from question period yesterday. Question period went on basically as a two-person show between Trudeau and Poilievre yesterday. And this was a great.
After 9 years of the NDP Liberals, taxes up, costs up, crimes up, time's up. Today, we'll vote to trigger a carbon tax election between the costly carbon tax coalition of NDP Liberals who tax your food, punish your work, double your housing cost and unleash crime and chaos, or common sense Conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Why can't we bring it home today?
Every once in a while, a moment of truth.
Of slogans he's memorized without any actual solutions for Canadians. He doesn't care about Canadians. He cares about his own political self-interest. If he cared about Canadians, he wouldn't have voted against dental care. He wouldn't have voted against more spaces at $10 a day childcare. He wouldn't have voted against initiatives that are growing the economy, putting more money in people's pockets. He wants a climate change election. Let's have that election in the right time where we're putting more money.
The honourable leader of the opposition.
Well, he just said he wants a carbon tax election on his plan to quadruple the tax to 61 cents a litre. If so, will he call it today?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I believe this on today we will see that this House does not have confidence in the leader of the Conservative Party. Mr. Speaker, we have delivered and are continuing to deliver reduced emissions, more money in the pockets of Canadians, and success in the fight against climate change as we create jobs and build a stronger future. We are focused on delivering for Canadians the things that actually matter, while he's focused on slogans and clapping. Mr. Speaker, we're going to focus on being there for Canadians.
Yes, Trudeau talks about that fantasy Canada that exists only in his mind. You know, that Canada of unicorns and rainbows that he talked about on the Stephen Colbert late night with Stephen Colbert. He talked about Canada being a land of unicorns and rainbows. And as I said, is there a 10-year-old girl trying to escape from the body of Justin Trudeau? Very strange analogy. But Justin Trudeau, of course, describes a Canada that doesn't really exist, where there's perfect health care, not wait times of 6 months to 2 years for operations, where you don't have to go to the United States in vast numbers to get those operations, where we're not paying huge amounts of our taxes for the so-called free Medicare. Justin Trudeau describes Canada in those terms. He describes Canada as being one of the strongest in the G7. We're one of the weakest. It's a lie. Justin Trudeau likes to describe us as having just low inflation. We know that's a lie. He likes to describe us as having a robust economy, and it's a dying economy. So that's Justin Trudeau's world. But if you don't think that's unhinged enough, you've got to see this. It's a little long, but it's worth watching because it's incredible. This is Justin Trudeau's homophobia moment yesterday. When he plays the gay card. Now, I don't know why he's so obsessed with LGBTQ issues, but he is. He just never ceases to talk about them. They're almost the most important thing in his life. He just can't stop talking. And he's just like he took personal offense yesterday when somebody made some ad hoc remark. Yes, some conservative made an ad hoc remark about the residence in Washington that's going to be occupied by our not the ambassador, but I can't think of the word right now, but Canada's representative in New York City. Tom Clark used to be a CTV journalist who is now working for the Liberal government. He's going into this multi-million dollar luxury residence. So one of the Conservatives joked about Trudeau and Clark being in the same tub. Now, this just sparked outrage from Trudeau. Very bizarre.
Well, I will comment on one spectacular social housing project of his, and that is the brand new lavish apartment that he bought his friend, the new Consul General to New York. $9 million for his friend Tom Clark to have stunning powder room finished in jewel onyx, crystallo gold quartzite countertops, a handcrafted copper soaking tub, custom bronze bathroom fixtures, $5,000 coffee machine. Did the Prime Minister go and inspect this palace in the sky on his recent trip to New York?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Somebody made the comment.
Mr. Speaker, engaging with international leaders on fighting climate change, on solving global crises, on standing up unequivocally for Ukraine.
Bullshit. So to stand up unequivocally for Ukraine, you have to stay in a $20 million house.
Colleagues,
Corrupt government and a corrupt leader.
just as I said before, just as I said earlier, I would ask all members to please not take the floor unless they're recognized by the Speaker so that we can hear the questions and we can hear the answers. The Right Honourable Prime Minister from the top.
Mr. Speaker, don't worry, on this side of the House, we're used to casual homophobic comments from the other side of the House. Mr. Speaker, what is it about the...
Now, this is interesting because the Speaker warns him on at least 3 occasions. And it's like he's got to demonstrate once in his life that he's got some spine. And he's going to stand up to Trudeau. So he's adamant about Trudeau retracting his comment here. It's quite bizarre. And Trudeau, of course, stands his ground because he's really offended because it's the LGBTQ community that's been offended, apparently. I'm sure most of them would just laugh this off. Not Trudeau. He looks really personally offended by this remark, and he really doesn't know how to handle it. And of course, the Speaker's got the mic shut off here because he doesn't want you to hear what's going on. But this is absolutely fascinating because you look at Trudeau's reaction, and does he get this upset about tragedies, catastrophes, world-shaking events? No. The only time we ever saw him cry in the House of Commons was when he issued his apology to all LGBTQ people who were fired from their jobs in the past because they were legitimately allegedly at that time seen a security room. That's the only time he tried. And here he is. He's so incensed about some offhanded comment made by some MP.
Colleagues.
I don't know who it was. And if I did, I wouldn't say it.
I heard comments that because it was not on microphone, I chose not to get up. I would ask, nonetheless, that we all treat each other with the presumption of honor and respect. And I'll ask the Prime Minister to please withdraw that comment and to start his comment again.
Apparently the remark was crap. Now this is another word you can't say.
Colleagues, I heard a comment, as I said, which I could not stand up because I did not know who said it. But we should be. But colleagues, I don't appreciate when we would tar the entire members with that concern. And I'm going to ask the honourable member, please, to withdraw that comment, start his question again, and let us presume the better natures of all members of Parliament.
Better natures of our angels. He's kind of quoting Abraham Lincoln there.
Mr. Speaker, standing up to bullies requires us to call them out on their crap sometimes, and that's what I will do.
Bully. Is this the classic case of Justin Trudeau distraction? Who's the bully in the House of Commons every day? Who's the bully over his caucus? Who's the bully over his cat? Who's the bully over Canadians? Who's the bully over the Freedom Convoy? Who's the bully over you if you disagree with him? Justin Trudeau. I would have loved to have seen Justin Trudeau not retract his comment and get booted out of the House of Commons, just as the Speaker booted Pierre Poilievre out of the House of Commons
invite the
for
Prime
using
Minister
the word
once again
wacko.
to rise on his feet. And thank you.
Clearly, Justin Trudeau is a wacko.
I will happily withdraw my comment if the member who suggested that I was sharing a bathtub with Tom Clark stands up, takes responsibility for his...
This is just incredible. How can any politician waste so much time? Because is he concerned about Canada falling into the abyss of economic catastrophe? No, he's more concerned about a comment that's made. Now, Trudeau doesn't even know who made the comment. He's not even sure what the comment was. But he's just so personal and insulted to find that comment. Need I say more? We're getting depressed today. Well, I've got lots more to show today, so please tell your friends and family to join this broadcast.
As I indicated to all colleagues,
I've saved some of the best for last.
I was not able to hear or track the source of that statement. And I'm just asking the Prime Minister to be the better person and to please just withdraw the comment and start his question again. Very honourable Prime Minister.
Fergus is desperate to get some satisfaction out of
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw the comment about defecating. I certainly, using the word crap, I shouldn't use that. I know crap is unparliamentary, but I will also, Mr. Speaker, when someone says something that is clearly homophobic, not them, I'm not accusing them of homophobia, I'm saying they made a homophobic...
Once again,
I appreciate the Prime Minister withdrawing his comment and the
A moment
Chair
of
accepts him
hilarity.
withdrawing that comment. But as the Speaker had indicated, sometimes in this chair, and for those who have occupied this chair or who will occupy this chair will understand, it is a very difficult decision day to day. I heard a comment, I did not know who said it, and the Speaker chose, for the reputation of this House, for us to move on from that comment. I asked the Prime Minister to withdraw the comment. I appreciate you withdrawing the comment. The Prime Minister, please respond to the question that was asked by the
Mr. Speaker, I know the very idea of standing up for Canada's rights and values on the world stage makes the Leader of the Opposition's skin crawl.
Yeah. Mr. Distraction. I want to get back to the bubble zone here. That was a moment of classic Justin Trudeau clown show activity. That you remember I showed this to you the other day, and yesterday is the first day that I can actually determine the bubble zone is in effect. But here is the incredibly inept employment minister, Randy Boissonnault, referring to the bubble zone that's coming.
The other day was not fair to Mr. Singh, and quite frankly, I think he handled it well. But we have to do more work to make sure that people in Parliament Hill, including our staffers, are protected. I have shared with the press gallery before that I have experienced this kind of harassment at my home. I've experienced it at my own barbecue earlier. It's not pleasant, and it's something that we're all having to get used to. But to not have a secure parliamentary precinct is that needs to be fixed. And I think Mr. Singh was right to defend himself.
So there you have it. And what's happened? They've done it surreptitiously, clandestine like. They've done it in secret. They have put in a bubble zone and they've not even told. You'll find out if you go to Parliament Hill and try to get anywhere near an MP, try to get anywhere near a cabinet minister, unless you've got your parliamentary press gallery pass, which I'm still waiting for mine, by the way. It has not been renewed with the Post Millennial. So I'm waiting to find out. Am I going to be grouped with those journalists who are not really journalists because they're not on Justin Trudeau's payroll? Even though I'm working for a legitimate media organization? But will I be subject to the bubble zone? I'm wondering. I'm waiting to find out. But you need to know and you need to care about this because it's not being reported. We have a bubble zone at the House of Commons. Randy Boissonnault referred to it, not by name, but indirectly. Is that what our democracy has come to? So be concerned about this. Let's raise some hell about the bubble zone that's surrounding the House of Commons and our precious, fragile MPs, their staffers, and of course, those really elite cabinet ministers. I want to turn before we go here to a classic moment with Kamala Harris, who I think is probably related to Justin Trudeau at some point. Well, I mean, not really, but you think they were because they're both vacuous. They both make airheaded remarks. They both really don't have a sense of reality. And of course, Kamala was in Montreal for quite some time as a young girl. So very, very interesting. But this interview is just, you have to see this. You have to see this. And I love this host from Sky News in Australia.
Kamala finally sat down for a major network interview without a chaperone, and guess who she picked for this momentous occasion? The leftiest of lefty hacks she could find on the lunatic MSNBC network. Here is Stephanie Rule on Bill Maher's show saying Kamala shouldn't be obliged to answer questions.
Ask Kamala, say, are you for a Palestinian state if Hamas is going to run that state?
Okay.
Yes or no?
And let's say you don't like her answer. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump?
No, I'm not.
Kamala
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
Yes.
Holy projection, Batman. Do you hear this woman? She's accusing Donald Trump, no surprise, of all of the things the Democrats have been doing in the States. This is exactly the playbook Justin Trudeau uses in Canada. He accuses the Conservatives of doing exactly what he's doing. And that's a leftist woke policy now. That's the way they play the game of politics. But just watch Kamala make an absolute fool out of herself here.
She has late stage TDS. Let's look at some of the highlights, or should that be lowlights, of that interview. Here are Kamala's top 3 moments. This is exciting. The VP has learnt a new word. Here she repeats that word 3 times in 13 seconds. See if you can
Don't
guess
miss
what it
this,
is.
folks.
Looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner.
Here, Kamala attempts to answer a simple question about her economic policies. Does not go well.
Can you imagine Justin Trudeau and Kamala Harris in the same room? My God, it's just the absolute unintelligent, meaningless verbiage that these two come up with. It's amazing how similar they are. And Kamala Harris, of course, is borrowing Justin Trudeau's housing policies, which means Soviet style block housing. And of course, the craziness of leasing government land to developers who can then build apartment complexes or homes on it, which, of course, the land will never be owned by anybody but the government. That's called Soviet communism. But Kamala Harris is a Marxist.
For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them? Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams.
Yes, she loves empty platitudes, and the vacuousness did not end there, and neither did the lies, including this whopper.
Polling shows that most likely voters still think Donald Trump is better to handle the economy. Why do you think that is? Well, here's what I know in terms of the facts. Donald Trump left us with the worst economy since the Great Depression when you look at, for example, the employment numbers.
It was during COVID, and employment was so high because we shut down the government, we shut down the country.
Even before the pandemic, he lost manufacturing jobs by most people's estimates, at least 200,000.
Now, that is an absolute lie. One so big that even CNN has called it out. Indeed, Trump had added hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs before COVID. He'd not lost them. From the beginning of his presidency in January 2017 through February 2020, just before the pandemic crash, 414,000 new manufacturing jobs were created.
See what I mean? They make it up out of thin air. She had no basis at all, not even a fragment of truth in that stupid accusation about Trump getting rid of or losing 200,000 manufacturing jobs when in fact he created that many, or at least that many were created under his government because he reduced and eliminated regulations, which is what Pierre Poilievre says he's going to do as well, is get rid of the red tape, of the regulations, of the absolute insanity of government being in the way all the time. So this is crazy. Justin Trudeau makes it up in terms of how wonderful we have it in Canada, how we're doing so well. And of course, the reverse is true. Canadians are taxed at 43% of our salaries if you're working. If you're not working, don't worry about it. You're not paying any. But if you're working hard, you're paying 43% of your salaries. In some cases, probably up to 50, depending upon the jurisdiction you're living in. That's an average, 43. Little less in Alberta, hell of a lot more in Quebec and other provinces that love to lap up more taxes. So that's the reality, which Justin Trudeau doesn't want to talk about in Canada, which Kamala Harris doesn't want to talk about. She keeps saying, turn the page. She's the page that needs to be turned. She's been part of the Biden-Harris administration. She is the vice president. But watch Justin Trudeau start to talk that way too in Canada. He'll start to borrow from Kamala Harris. Yeah. He'll start to say, it's time to turn the page on the Conservatives. But Stephen Harper hasn't been prime minister for 9 years. No matter. It'll be time to turn the page on the Conservatives and time to turn the page on these horrible ideas that Pierre Poilievre is coming up with. And that's the problem. We have to turn the page on Pierre Poilievre. That's what Justin Trudeau is going to say next, because they all read from the same playbook. And guess where the playbook is written? Yeah, Davos, Switzerland, and other places where the world globalists like to meet and greet and write the talking points for people like Justin Trudeau. So this is absolute insanity. What's happened in the House of Commons yesterday was absolute insanity. I'm still predicting we could have an election in November, God willing, because you know it as much as I do. We need to get rid of Justin Trudeau for the health and safety of this country. But we need journalists to be at least a little bit objective. Because as much as I want Justin Trudeau defeated, I'm not giving a free ride to Pierre Poilievre or anybody else. And I'm not in the bag for the Conservative Party. I will criticize them as I need to. And I hope Donald Trump wins the 2024 presidential election for the sake of world peace. Because Biden and Harris want a nuclear war. If that was the only reason, I would want Donald Trump to win. But I'm not going to be completely uncritical of Donald Trump and be afraid to criticize him when he says something stupid or has a policy that makes no sense. I'm not in the bag for him either. I hope he wins. But I'm not in the bag for politicians. Politicians, I can tell you this, and I worked on the Hill for many years. Well, too many years. They will always let you down. That's why we need to fight and push back from a position of honesty, truth, and courage. That's what we need to do. Thanks for watching today. Took you a little over 30 minutes. We love you. God bless you for watching and for keeping this station on the air and keeping us accountable to you. And I will be back tomorrow.